probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
Yes. We want to see the role of the youth in the security, governance, and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers, do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa.
The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, Doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich, or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa. Way back in 1998, the late Secretary General of the United Nations, by name Kofi Annan, thought of an idea, brought an idea of saying the only way to bring world order, where crimes committed that are not punishable in local courts, local countries, regional courts, could be taken to an international crimes court. The Rome Statute and Rome Treaty of 1998 July was an offspring of already cooked DSGE intelligence system mechanism to keep Africa under check. Up to date, the French government pays 70% of the salaries of the International Criminal Court, from the porter to the judge, to the prosecutor, and the rest of the other people. This was a project of Kofi Annan and the Kofi Annan Foundation, followed by George Soros as an accomplice of Kofi Annan, brought in by Luis Moreno Campo and the entire system of the West, some countries in the West, to keep check on African countries that did not agree with the policies of the French and to their policies of Western culture. The International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Campo agreed in all this that yes, he has been picking money, extra monies, and we followed the story together with my group in France, powerful investigators in France who worked together with me, and we found out that, truly speaking, Luis Moreno Campo, Fernandez Gomedi, the former judge, the president of the International Criminal Court, laundered money, some coming from American banks themselves. This evidence was put in the ICC. In the case of Bashir versus the chief prosecutor, I filed an application, which I still have, and which I'm going to publicize again, so that people can know that I was right. I've been vindicated because the American friends now have found that my credibility is real, that I was right when I stood up to say this court is corrupt. This court launders money, $17 million of United States money, laundered through Bahamas, through New York banks, back to Ocampo's personal assistant, by then called Fernandez Gomedi Silvia. who later on rose to the ranks of becoming the president of International Criminal Court. It has taken us time, energy, effort, resources to investigate the corruption scandal that have rocked the International Criminal Court. Why should African countries continue to be in the ICC? Yet even the superpowers like America are saying no, we have enough courts to try our own people. Viewers, it has taken Americans over 20 years to listen to our voices when we told Rainberger in Nairobi that this court is a corrupt court.
Today, on the eve of September the 11th, I want to deliver a clear and unambiguous message on behalf of the President of the United States. The United States will use any means necessary to protect our citizens and those of our allies from unjust prosecution by this illegitimate court. We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC. We will let the ICC die on its own. After all, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us.
A case of the Kenyan people. These cases in Kenya, the chief prosecutor called Fatou Bensouda put serious statements at the end of the cases, discharge and termination. In legal language, these cases pose a very serious threat in the future. What the people of Kenya can do, and they should do, is today to wrap up the work envelope. Because until this envelope is sealed, thrown in Indian Ocean, the chief prosecutor in the future will come and look for that envelope, use it to incriminate people again. It brings me back to the situation. America is sealing its journey out of the ICC. Why do you wait? Why don't you take this opportunity to seal your journeys out of the ICC? America is quitting, warning that it cannot no longer be a party to such an obnoxious court, a court that has no powers, that talks from this side and vomits from the other side, a court that cuts and pastes evidence, a court that buys witnesses, a court that incites incentives, gives incentives to witnesses of a passport and a relocation, then you tell lies about people. A court that sentences you as per the words there. Why should you leave a country that has a jury that checks on what the judges would do, the excesses of judges, and go to a country, a court that has no jury? Time has come for Africa to think. Do we need this court? Does Africa need this court?
Fellow Africans,
I took this petition to the court in order to stop any future usage of falsehood and false documents, procured witnesses of the Waki Commission. I took this petition to the court 4 years ago in order to make sure that the Chief Prosecutor of International Criminal Court does not use this evidence anytime in the future, whether tomorrow or 10 years to come, to refer to this evidence because the evidence was fake. It is with this dismay and with this courage that I took to go to court in Kenya to seek a judicial review and to redeem the credibility of both those accused and the victims of this catastrophe that occurred in Kenya, that I decided to seek to expunge this report from the reports and the statute books of Kenya. It is unfortunate that the 3 judges in Kenya, whom I will name now, Judge Kanyi Kimondo, Judge Aburil, and Judge Onyengo, all of them sat down and gave very silly, flimsy, prudish, sardonic ruling against our petition. I want to tell the Kenyans that I have done my best. I want to be on record that should this thing reappear again, don't call me. Should it reappear again, don't say I never told you. Should the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court use this fake evidence again against Kenyans, don't say I did not tell you. My role was to go and remove these obnoxious toxins from the books of the Republic of Kenya. I therefore want to tell the world that my torrid road, a long road that I've taken in search for this envelope, has ended in Kenya so far. But I want to announce that Kenya is not the only state party in international law. Kenya is not the only state party. I will in the future, very soon, detail to you which other state party I'm going to seek this envelope to be expunged and to be made public to the people of the world. I want to thank you all. I want to tell you that a detailed document which is entitled My Long Road, Torrid Road to Work Envelope will be found on www.panafricanforumltd.com. You can read it, you can dissect, you can see the days, the long road, what I took, what I did, referenced, well documented, and may God help you that at one time somebody in Kenya will stand up to say thank you very much.
First of all, let me thank you. I've prepared 2 papers which I believe will be circulated because they'll not be projected. But if you can see, first of all, I want to agree with the Honorable Minister. I've done 2 pictorials. One of them is described as Africa at the dinner table. And if you look at Africa at the dinner table, Africa is on a plate and it is meat. And the diners at the dinner table are France, the United Kingdom, the United States, the European Union, the Chinese, and progressively the Arabs. And my second picture is the African hotspots. It's not visible from there. But if you look at Africa today and you make a clean sweep with your mind, there are different conflicts of different intensity in Somalia, in northern Mauritania, in northern Mali, in Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, Guinea-Bissau, in the Cameroons, in South Sudan, and one can go on and on. And there is a sense in which Africa has always been alive to the question of interference. I will refer this audience, particularly those who are starting, to take time and read the 32 odd speeches that were made in the month of May 1963 by the then heads of states and government of independent African states, the 32 of them. And there are two speeches that I want to isolate for this presentation. One was by David Dacko of Central African Republic. And in thanking Emperor Haile Selassie and Kwame Nkrumah on that day, he said that we must never forget that the colonial power has not left us. We must recognize that he did not go willingly. And if we don't check them, they'll come back again. And what would little Central African Republic do against them? Today, he is right. Today, if we remember the activities of France and how they have propped up the regime of Jean-Bedel Bokassa, he was right. Today, as the Honorable Minister has indicated, Africa remains the only continent in the world that is referred to in these terms, Anglophone, to mean that we are a sphere of our erstwhile colonizers. About 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting of the Commonwealth in London, England. And a friend of mine who is an Anglophile sent me the photograph very gleefully, saying this is a meeting of 53 equal states. I told him, no. If it was so, why is it that the leadership of the Commonwealth is hereditary rather than rotational? In other words, in the minds of the British, her former colonies are still under her tutelage. And I want to submit to us that in the minds of what I'll call the conceptual West, they think they have a divine duty to instruct Africans what to do. True. And in the minds of many African leaders, they think that they have a divine duty to accept what they are told. That, in my view, is what the Honorable Minister was talking about, the mindset. And this is something that has been examined. We have seen France and its very pernicious presence in Africa. We know what they did in Burkina Faso against Thomas Sankara. We know what they did in Mali or the Sudan against Modibo Keita or against Sekou Touré in Guinea. Pernicious to the core. The Portuguese, we know what battles had to be fought in that area. And let me put this very bluntly. When the former leader of Portugal, Marcelo Caetano, was asked, why can you not allow the colonies to gain independence? This is what he said in substance. As I have examined world history over the years, the following have emerged: that the Caucasians have been responsible for monumental discoveries in the development of man. So have the Chinese, so have the Arabs. But the Africans have been responsible for nothing. They are only fit as hewers of wood and drawers of water. And I want to submit to you who are present here that in the conceptual West's unguarded moments, or guarded moments, that is what they think. And that is how they relate to Africa. So the whole idea that they will interfere is something that they think is their God-given duty. I said there were two speeches in 1963 that I wanted to refer to. I referred to David Dacko. The second one was the speech by Kwame Nkrumah. And Kwame provided the solution. He did not complain about colonialism. He said, we must live here with one army, with one command. We must live here with one currency. We must live here with one currency, one country. I do not know where its capital will be, but I suggest Leopoldville or Bangui. Other leaders may have their thoughts. Kwame was right, but who listened to him? Several years down the line, and I've said it in my paper, there were coup d'etats which were engineered, there were mutinies which were engineered, and other forms of destabilization. And I want to believe that the person who actually said it very well in the 1980s was the former American President Ronald Reagan. He said, the United States of America does what is in her best interest. And I agree with him. Does Africa do what is in her best interest? Do African leaders do what is in the best interest of Africa? Interference will be there in very blatant and brazen ways and in subtle ways. I've always asked, until very recently, how many African countries manufactured bullets? Very few. Until very recently, how many African countries, in fact, how many African countries manufacture jet fighters? How many African countries are involved in the arms industry? Some of the leading conceptual West countries which pontificate to us about prizes, peace prizes, are the leading manufacturers of landmines. And if you look at their foreign exchange earners, it is the military and security items. So they say with their mouths, what do they not believe in their hearts? In Kiswahili we say, vita vya panzi furaha ya kunguru. That when the locusts are fighting, it is the joy of the hawk. Because when they kill each other, they get the food easily, dead. It is in the best interest, I dare submit, without fear of contradiction, that the elite in the conceptual West does not want Africa to stabilize, despite their assertion to the contrary. And you'll see it in every country because conflict is a major industry. Today, you look at South Sudan and the many peace conferences that are being held, but if you ask who supplies the arms, who provides safe...
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi and Mombasa, the Republic of Kenya, in a coastal city, together with our sister anchors stations in Berlin and South Africa. Thank you very much. Good morning, all of you in Bameda, in Cameroon, in Abazonia. Good morning. We know you experience quite a lot of difficulties. But good morning, Africa, Kigali. Good morning, Africa, Kinshasa, Kampala. Good morning, Nairobi. Good morning, Juba. Good morning, Dar es Salaam. Good morning, Harare. Good morning, Tripoli. Good morning, Ghana, the home of Pan-Africanism. Good morning, Abuja. Good morning, Lagos, Port Harcourt. Good morning, Benin. Good morning, wherever you are in Mauritania, Bamako. Good morning. Good morning in all places, Asmara, Mogadishu. Good morning. This is Punchline Africa TV, the only station that talks about African news, the only station that delivers without fear or favor, the only station that criticizes positively and change Africa. Criticisms can be in two places, two sides. Negative criticism could build, could destroy Africa. Constructive criticism, positive. The youth should be positively engaging in criticizing, not following. We are talking about a serious subject this morning. But first, we look at the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. What has he done? Has he delivered the legacy? Is the legacy going on well? Yes. Obstacles seem to be there, but we are there. We shall leave a mark. Those of us who have volunteered to say we shall stand by Uhuru Kenyatta, speak out for against any injustice, against any form of those retrogressive, negative elements who tend to distort the legacy. We are not worried. We shall deliver, and we shall say it. Where we have failed, we shall also turn up to say we have failed. Where we have achieved, we shall say we have achieved. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta is a Pan-African head of state. He talks Africa, eats Africa, enjoys Africa, breathes Africa. But above all, he's the president of the Republic of Kenya. He's not a president without a platform. He's a president with a platform. The people of Kenya have put out a person who is a Pan-African. The spirit of Nkrumah, the spirit of Nyerere, the spirit of Sekou Toure, Selassie, Gabriel Nassau, Amina Cabral, Patrice Lumumba. It flows in Uhuru Kenyatta. The spirit of Jomo Kenyatta himself flows through him. The spirit of Milton Obote, the spirit of all those founding fathers of African liberation, Siad Barre in Somalia. We congratulate all those spirits, those who have gone down to God, to the Creator, who stood by Africa to deliver Africa. Africa, without those men, would not have been Africa. The current Africa, 66 years old, needs somebody to talk about it. And that's what I do every morning. That's what I do every day. That's what I do without pay. I do it every day. And I will continue talking until I bring out a crop of Africans who think of Africa as the only destination of their own. I will continue talking about Cameroon and Paul Biya until I bring him down to knees to find out that it is very bad to kill people in Abazonia. I will continue talking about human rights abuses that are heaped on the people of Amazonia, that are heaped on the people of Central African Republic, that destroy these countries on a very daily basis. I will talk about the French influence in Africa, how the French have distorted and spread conflicts that have killed the vast parts of Africa. Almost 95% or to 80% of French-speaking countries are at war. If you look what is happening in Democratic Republic of Congo, look at Cameroon, look at Chad, look at Mauritania, look at Mali, look at Algeria, Tripoli, where they have gone to dismantle system by killing Gaddafi. We now have a problem. Look at Gabon. Everywhere where they have stepped, there has been a problem. One of the things that shocked me this morning when I tuned on BBC News on Focus on Africa on my radio, I heard the French president telling the president of Brazil about forests. You see, a hyena is always a hyena. It smells from very far about what happens in other countries. The French are interested. No wonder now they don't leave the topics of Africa, right from Gabon, right from Côte d'Ivoire, all the way from Burkina Faso. The Sahara region must have confusion in order for these guys to rule, to maintain their grip on their foreign territories. They were telling the Brazilian president that they were banning the forests of Amazon. President Macron, because he's hosting the G7 conference, wants to add Mr. President of Brazil on the list of the agenda of discussing the environmental catastrophe that is taking place in Amazon. Yes, we all accept environment is very crucial to our sustainability of living as human beings. But then for a president who jumps Cameroon banning, Cameroon dying, Cameroon going down, Amazonians being killed, he doesn't talk about it. He's busy talking about the forest very far, almost 20,000 miles away from Paris. It shows to you that I am vindicated. I was right and I remain right. This morning, the topic on the ground, that spirit of Pan-Africanism shall have three categories of people, of sentiments that are set here. One, the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Mr. President, I just want to reiterate your stand of what you said yesterday. But before I do that, I want to play a clip. There is one thing in the legacy. There is one thing that we must fight to accomplish in the legacy, and that's the judiciary. Let's play this clip on the mafia finances that have financed, surrounded, supplied, equipped, obstructed justice in the Kenyan courts. I want to speak about this, and I will continue to speak about it. There is nobody going to stop me, whether here or there or anywhere. I will speak about the Kenyan courts. Because Chief Justice Maraga is reactive, incompetent, inept. He can't lead that court. There is no shortcut of words. If you look at what I've just displayed here, look at it. Mafia finance, an editorial that shows you see no evil, talk about no evil, enjoy no all what you need within the system. This is a serious case of an indictment. The Chief Justice yesterday in Mombasa came out to tell these guys that there is nothing wrong with my court. My court is all right. What about the policemen? We are not looking for excuses. We are looking for fixing the courts so that the people of Kenya can one day go and seek justice. I was myself a victim of this court. I took a case to close work envelope. The judges kept on switching me for 3 years, and I lost 6 million shillings of my money. I'm a victim of this court. One of the judges is sitting on the Supreme Court smiling. Every time I look at him, I feel so angered. He kept on switching me to this, telling me he's abroad, until I lost the case. I lost the case not because this case will not affect Kenyans. It will affect you one day. Hallelujah. It will affect you one day. If you have not seen it, you better see it today. The case that I had put in the court of the Kenya to close work envelope, there is a need to close work envelope in this country. But these judges hammered me down. I lost legal fees. Still I have to. Maybe I'll even do a fundraising for myself and the people to pay the legal fees for a state. I am doing it for the country called Kenya. And that's it. That's me. I don't care, because I know what is going to come ahead. That in the future, we don't want to walk in the capital cities of Europe and somebody comes to your car and stops you and said, oh, I want you to come out to go to court with me to explain ABCD. My people of Africa, my people of Kenya, I was doing it. But this court, this evil court, see no evil. Don't even talk about it. See no evil. That's the court we have. Talking about Uganda, the same. What happens in Uganda, at least Ugandan courts, there is power for the president to remove a judge if there is a problem. At least Ugandan courts, yes, they are mafia in Uganda. They are threatening ministers. We know them. Everybody knows them. But if the law catches you on the mafia side, you are shot. Museveni does it. They will finish you. There is something, people talk about the country. Which country? I'm in East Africa. I'm an East African. Where will you take me? You will tell me not to come to Kenya when the East African said, the same passport when we land at Heathrow, you will be stamped with equal measure like a mine. Then you are talking of our country. Which country? These countries in the future are going to be East Africa. East Africa has got one passport. It means we were divided by boundaries. We did not choose. The type of talk that is silly, stupid talk that some malcontents have developed is what President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday said. Please, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where this background you have. What matters is meticulously. That's it. Meticulously. If you are meticulously good, if you are meritocracy, you must have meritocracy, not dynasty. You don't need to be a king son in order to lead Uganda. If you are worth and you have no bad manners, you can lead my country. I have no problem. This type of people who fear people because they want to say we are the undertrodden class. There's no undertrodden class. There's no it is yourself whose manners are undertrodden. The behavior, the corruption, the thievery, the intimidation, the hatred you carry for people. You hate people. You hate people until they go to the grave. Stupid hatred, which must be condemned. We can't sit here and say, oh, we are all right. No, I have a problem. There are people who say, I don't praise Museveni. I tell the truth. If Museveni is doing something good, I say it. After all, Museveni and the Besigye are the same. Myopism must stop. It is Besigye who made the bed he's sleeping on today. Ugandans, stop coming in with silly comments. Who made it? Who put the laws that are killing us today? The political commissioner or President Museveni, the UPDF political commissioner, the NRA political commissioner, the Minister of Internal Security. The younger men who parrot around and walk around, they have not seen it yet. We have not turned the tables on you. If I am speaking and praising Museveni, I praise him on a record. There are certain things he has done badly. There are certain three quarters he has done some things which are good. And there are certain things that are bad. And I state it as a human being. But I will not be diverted to that. When it comes to Uganda, I will speak my mind. There is no Ugandan who has suffered better than I have. I have been in exile for 34 years. But I haven't brought a Ugandan debate in Kenya. I'm speaking as a global citizen. As a global citizen, I'm entitled to speak about Amazonia. I'm not a Cameroonian. I'm not from Central African Republic. I'm not a Congolese. I'm not a Zimbabwean. But I stood by Zimbabwe and I lost my job in the Commonwealth office in London against Tony Blair, who is looking around, walking around, looking for jobs in Africa. When he killed Africa, I stood firm. I was not a Zimbabwean. I stood firm to speak about ICC. I was not a Kenyan. It all affected the people of East Africa. I believe in Africa. I don't believe in units of this content where malcontents, pure toxins. I don't believe in that. Let me come back to the subject of legacy. President Uhuru Kenyatta cannot have a legacy when he has not cleaned the judiciary. Mr. President, the judiciary currently as constituted is warped. W-A-R-P-P-E-D, warped. It got warped. Quisha, there is nothing there. There are few people in that judiciary who are very good. But the Chief Justice is incompetent, useless, inept, cannot even know the left, the center, the back, the right, ineptness. You don't know. You said there is nothing wrong. The people yesterday in Mombasa came to demonstrate. They came down to White Sands Hotel. They were telling a message that, hey, you are meeting inside there, consuming more money, but we have a problem with you. A Deputy Chief Justice who has been adversely mentioned also shows her face in front of the cameras. Is she not ashamed to show us that she has got beauty when she is really very, very corrupt? All these things that are being mentioned, the people in Mombasa were talking about drugs. We were there, our correspondents were there. They are talking about drugs, monies. The Chief Justice woke up and said, there is no judge in the court who has ever taken drugs. Mr. Maraga, can you now eat your words? Just wait for 1 month to come. By November, 7 of your judges will be going. Will have indictment to go and answer for charges for obstruction of justice in the United States of America. That is the time when you will tell Kenyans whether you are worth a Chief Justice or not. It is up to you to decide now and leave. It is up to you to get out, save your career, save your name. But for you to say there are no corrupt judges in dealing with drugs, when they are adversely mentioned in the courts in America, is a shame. Viewers, the scales are tilted against the legacy. But President Uhuru Kenyatta, the legacy moves on. I want us to show one clip that will show you that Kenya is functioning. I want you to listen to this clip by a group of youth that can show you that there is something working. That today, if we all go back and don't ask the state what it can do for us, but we can do something, it can work. Play the clip.
Mandhari ya kijani kibichi kilichokolea yanakukaribisha katika kaunti ya Meru, huku ikiwa na idadi ya watu milioni 1.4, wengi wao wakiwa vijana. Mji wa Kathera ulio viungani mwa mji wa Meru ni mdogo, lakini mji huu unakuwa haraka kiuchumi. Matembezi ya takriban dakika 5 kutoka mji huu wa Kathera unakufikisha katika kikundi cha vijana cha Mount Kenya Community Youth Group. Lucia Karemi ni miongoni mwa waanzilishi wa kikundi hiki kilichoanzishwa mwaka 2008. Kila siku ya wiki, mwana dada huyu ambaye pia ni mshauri wa wanachama wachanga wa kikundi hiki hudamka alfajiri na mapema kutekeleza majukumu kabla ya kujiunga na wanachama wengine wa kikundi hiki. Sauti za nyimbo za kitamaduni za jamii ya Wameru zinakukaribisha kwa bashasha katika makao ya muda mrefu ya kikundi hiki.
Tulianza kwanza kabisa na table banking. Tukaanza kucontribute every month 100 shillings. Hiyo 100 shillings tulikuwa tunakopesha memba moja, analeta na interest. Kuna memba wetu moja alikuwa na knowledge ya beadwork, akapass kwa sisi na sisi tukaichukua.
Wakiwa katika harakati za kusajili kikundi chao miaka 10 iliyopita, kikundi hiki kilifahamishwa kuhusu hazina ya kuwezesha vijana.
The Youth Enterprise Development Fund was started in the year 2006. And later it was converted into a state corporation in the year 2007. The intention of establishing the fund was to enable the young people be able to create their own employment. It was purposely created to address the challenges of unemployment, which is an issue across the country. What we basically do is that we facilitate or we promote enterprises which are owned by the youth.
Wakatuambia kuna ofisi imekuja hapa inaitwa Youth Fund. Mkubwa akatundirect kwa hiyo ofisi, tukaenda tukaadvaisiwa kuna pesa ya vijana hapa. Mkiwa kikundi na mkiwa mmefungua account, kuna pesa mnaweza pewa hapa. Tukaenda hapo tukapatiwa form, tukajaza, wakatupatia 20,000 to start with.
Baada ya kupatiwa mkopo kutoka hazina hiyo ya vijana, kikundi hiki kilijibidiisha kuhakikisha kinafaulu.
Tukamaliza kulipa ile 20,000, tukaweka kwa beadwork. Wakati tulimaliza tukapewa fomu nyingine ya 50,000. Kupewa 50,000, ile 50,000 ikafanya kazi zetu sikuwe stable kabisa.
Hazina ya vijana haijakuwa tu taasisi ya kifedha kwa kikundi hiki, bali pia mshirika mkuu wa kibiashara.
Wakati tulichukua loan ya Youth Fund, walitutengenezea market. Kama kuna zile trend fairs, binzi zetu tunauza country kama Scotland.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, viewers. That is a clip showing what the legacy, what the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta has tried to do. We need to have people with changing their mindset, people going out to start something on their own, people who can engage and have ideas. In summary, for people who have not heard the Swahili, these women sat down, contributed 100 shillings, which is less than 10 cents to dollar, 10 cents, yes, of a dollar each, and put up money on their own They have now got a big project. They were helped by the government to come out and go and work. They export these materials into Scotland, into Europe in a bigger way. Self-determination, patriotism, the single only item that you can look at when you are an African is what can I do? Is not to copy what the whites have done, but what can you do as an African? For example, it is really sad and very difficult for me to sit here as an African and watch people leave a legacy without telling them the truth. Truth is very important. To unite a country, you need the truth. And that's why President Uhuru Kenyatta is saying the destiny of this country does not lie in what color, what format, what background you came from. It lies in the unity, peaceful unity of purpose for this country to be united, for you to be able to export these things to Europe. You need that unity. The most important thing is unity of purpose. Do we have it? Do we as Africans sit down and think of what we can do today and tomorrow? I want to seek to this program and say the success of our emancipation as Africans depends on changing our mindsets. We are reactive. We are not proactive. We support thieves. We say they are our people. Don't touch them. We support people who destroy the economy. And we say, no, those are our people, you are witch hunting them. We support many things that are not in line with what the legacy wants to be. But that is not a problem for me. The biggest problem is the leadership that does not teach the younger generation. I want to switch on and across the continent by engaging in the news headlines. That is what we are saying. Next coming, the topic we have is what has caused Africa divide itself to this level. The politics of compensation. Compensational politics. Politics of because Africa, because I'm beer, I'm Paulo beer. Why am I not so and so? Why should I leave the leadership? I need that leadership because I have been oppressed. That type of compensational politics is what has killed Africa. And therefore, without much ado, I would like to leave this topic and give a chance to another clip from which touches Africa, and on the top of the hour, we shall be discussing that topic with the news headlines in Kenya and across African continent. Thank you. I'm gonna call you, I'm on the TV. Let me finish. The creation of African Continental Free Trade Area is a step forward for the African integration, and it is very much welcome both by Africans in Africa and those in diaspora. The creation of such is the only second one since the formation of World Trade Organization in 1994, and is only compared to the size that can compete if it works in Africa. 1.3 billion people will benefit out of this free trade that has been signed and endorsed by 54 heads of state. After several years of up and down in the valleys of Africa and the mountains of Africa, we finally came to a conclusion that this has to happen, which brings us to the dream of Kwame Nkrumah when he said, at least building a block by block, Africa will one day unite to stand as a united continent. But are the members of this African Union committed? Will they implement what they have decided? Today, in several countries, we see signs of xenophobia, the lack of patriotism amongst the younger generation, the lack of employment, the unemployment, the mistreatment of the young, the youth, those who need jobs, the corruption, the amount of corruption that has eaten the entire continent of Africa could hamper the free trade that we are anticipating on the continent. What measures, therefore, have African heads of state put in place to ensure that those who lag behind, those who drop out, must be penalized? We should not sign the document for the sake of documents, but we should sign documents for practical reasons, that we shall implement what Africa needs today. Can it happen in our times? Is it going to happen? Is integration a mirage? Is integration worth going to happen? Will it happen? What has happened about the present blocks that have started integration process? What have they done? Is Africa integrating? Thank you. Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you for listening. This is the second part of our show, and I want to see a few of the comments that have been written by some people. I want to read them to the public, and that is all. Thank you very much, and thank you, those Kamujisha on point. Besige has sacrificed for a long time. On the request, one day you talk about Winnie Byanyima legacy in Africa. I think I will, but Chomugisha, I have been there before Besige, so I criticize with facts. I have facts because I never hide my facts. I've been there. I struggled before. I struggled against all these rules that were being brought, struggled to return the multipartyism in Uganda, which you are enjoying today. And but is my comrade. I always tell him that he has to fight and also accept that there were people that he also injured on the way. Thank you very much. Some of your comments are very interesting, and we shall go through them. Of course, justice, we must continue until our stolen mandates are fully restored. That's on Nigeria. Uzoma, Biafra, watching you from Ghana. Good morning, Delong, Dr. Matsanga. Yes, Abdu Atelebe, talk about Uganda, which I've done. Musengo, if you can praise Museveni, then you have nothing to tell us. I have not praised Museveni. I criticize where it is. And then Chomugisha, the point of Besigye Masingo, Uganda is Museveni is a handbag. Oh my God. These are some of the comments. Let's talk about global issues and stick to the topics that are before you. If you want that discussion of other topics, just suggest to us. We shall bring them on another day. But right now, we go to African news and we look at the headlines. But before we do that, let's look at the Star newspaper of Kenya. Jubilee leaders attack Uhuru tax cheats war. I think that is the subject on the Star newspaper headline about Mrs. Karanja. Tabitha Karanja, who was arrested yesterday by the DPP, and the husband and the husband. I think we need to make the war very formidable. But we need the public also to understand the conditions under which they operate. The conditions under the DPP operates is that previously the DPP in that office was not effective enough to do some of the things. That's why you see some of these things have slipped off. But the new men at the helm now seem to be going further to find out what ails these industries, what ails these corporations. So that is how I leave it. Uhuru handshake, not about dynasties. Yes, I agree. I've already talked about that. And I agree. I've written a very, intelligent article which you can look at, which touches on the topic of today. Is there a danger of politics of compensation? Compensational politics. Is it creating chaos in Africa? There are people who would like to take power in Africa, claiming they have a problem, or they had a problem, or they were oppressed before. I will bring about those when Mengistu Haile Mariam. But before I go there, let me finish and then come back, because when I start, I will not end. Uhuru handshake, not about dynasty. I agree. Matiang'a stand warning on the censors. Tomorrow, Kenya is locked down in your club, restaurant, bar will be closed until the following morning. So if you want your football, those like me who are Liverpool, we shall look for where we have our laptops and wait inside the houses. Liverpool players, fans are encouraged to have their phones and watch. There will be no nightclubs. Why are people complaining in Kenya because of closing a bar at 5? Most of them run away from the difficulties at home to go and hide in those bars for football. I have friends of mine who don't want to discuss matters on Saturday with their wives, and they run to sit in a pub. You come back, you wouldn't like to be told there was no salt, there was no milk, there was nothing. Please, Matiang'a has done something good. Let's stick home. He has not stopped you from having your drink. You can buy your drink I saw a photograph of a gentleman with very many castle beers, pumped like this. I don't know whether my production team can see them and bring it up. It will make a very interesting thing. You sit at home and wait for these numerators. The only worry that most people are worried is these numerators, some of them could be disguised as thieves. So you have to watch out and ask for the details. But they are having police. Each enumeration is having police. They are moving with police officers, and that is very good. The people also take chances at this hour in order to make others suffer. So ask for the ID. Look at the people you are opening your door for. Don't open for anybody at midnight at 2 a.m. Then you end up a victim of the censors going with you. There are so many people who are also doing very awkward things as the government plans to do the census. And that is Uhuru Dynasty Hustler Talk. Yes, I think that puts the Hustler Talk to a question, to a standoff. Yes, because you know leadership does not need you to tell people how bad you need it. Leadership is show that you are able. Work on the legacy. You will win the vote. There's no need of even shouting. I don't know what makes people shout or think that they will be left out. It is a serious thing that you can see people trying to shout and make a lot of noise, which is useless. Good morning, Africa. Japan is taking on China in Africa. In the late August, Japan became one of the countries, the 7th Topical International Conference in Kenya, TICAD in Yokohama, which is holding it there. The conference is the cornerstone of Japan's development efforts to make sure that it takes a center stage in African development. In 2016, it was held here with Prime Minister, the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe noted that the last conference held in Kenya in 2016, Japan wants African countries to view Tokyo as a partner. That is very good. Japanese, why I like the Japanese, they have one thing in common. If they make a mistake, they take the sword and cut themselves at night. How many Africans are willing to cut themselves and go home? If you have cheated people's money, you have taken people's money of the dams, the water is not there. This water might not come. And you still have to walk around and tell people that it was not me. Japanese take swords, cut themselves, or commit suicide and go home. After all, there is only one way of reducing population: if you have stolen people's money. Africa is on the verge of being declared polio-free. That's very good news that World Health Organization on 21st of August, Nigeria marked 3 years since it last documented a polio case. This is good news for Africa. Remember, polio was a disastrous thing for the rest of Africa, and most of us must have had one way or the other in the homes where people were affected by polio. South Africa. South Africa today has a fierce round of questioning of parliamentary session of President Ramaphosa for the money or for telling a lie by allegations that he told a lie and he received extra money for campaign from people whom he has given favors, in return given favors in government. Democratic Alliance leader Maimane Mamusi honed in the Ramaphosa's dubious connection to Bosasa, urging that the president to institute a dedicated commission of inquiry to the Ramaphosa denied this request. EFF leader Malema, while very serious throughout his supplementary questioning, found time for a quick laugh with the president, asking him to divulge further details of payments made to members of the Red Berets. So this is exactly what is happening in Africa, in South Africa. Zambian mine, the mine in Kabwe was abandoned a quarter century ago. This is the copper mine is in Kabwe. A population of 223,000 people, the scars of the century. The World Bank labeled Zambia's implementation of this grant as moderately unsatisfactory. Nevertheless, in 2016, it extended more funds for that same project. And there is little hope that Africa's most toxic town will be cleaned by any time soon. People have died as a result of those mines, and therefore we need to be careful when we are agreeing to setting up a new office, a new item on the continent of Africa. Kenya is endorsed as a candidate for the African Union Council after defeating Djibouti in a vote held in Africa. But all the same, Foreign Affairs Minister, I congratulated them already, and I want to thank Juma Monica for the work she has done this time. She can see that it is international advocacy, both quiet diplomacy, silent diplomacy, and on-to diplomacy on certain factors can help the ministry advance their cause. Kenya's foreign policy cannot only be dealt with quietness, because diplomats can be quiet, but there are certain things that now require political noise. For example, the voting pattern at the African Union, the French-speaking countries, apart from Somalia, the rest of them that voted Djibouti had a link with France. This is something that we must get rid of out of the African Union. Otherwise, we shall not be united at all. If you see French countries lining up to vote for a particular candidate, the candidate we are voting is an African candidate. We still have that mentality of compensational politics. That because I was a French-speaking country, I must support my French-speaking country. In order we must to continue to eat. That is exactly what is happening in Africa. And that is killing Africa time and time again. Nigeria, the federal prosecutors say 80 people, most of them Nigerians, have been charged in the United States with being part of a widespread conspiracy that stole millions of dollars of businesses and other individuals. Nigerians have this tendency of never leaving the platform of corruption, fraud, empty promises, conmanship, which actually brings a disrepute to Africa. When you go to Dubai and the plane has got, they have even identified Nigerians go through here, it's very bad for us, Africa. In China, you saw the other time Chinese hotels were refusing to welcome some of the brothers from the African continent, including some people from Uganda. You know, when you go to this country, behaviors there, don't eat their dogs. They don't. Some of these countries eat dogs. Some eat snakes. Don't eat them, but behave in a manner that they will respect you and call you to come back tomorrow. But some of us behave so badly in these foreign countries. Sudan. President Omar Bashir faces court 30 years after power. President was in court and he's dressed in immaculate white robes, Mr. Back in black metal keg. I don't know why Arab countries use the metal keg the way they did it to Mubarak. Can someone in Egypt and somebody in Sudan tell me why you put your leaders in kegs like dogs? Can Can't you give them a decent trial? There is a combination of what they have done for these countries. Don't tell me that Bashir did not do something for Sudan. He did. Can you give him the decent burial, a decent trial, a decent life? I don't see many of us African countries south of in the sub-Saharan Africa behaving like most of our Arab country friends of the north. They mistreat their leaders. The way they put Mubarak in a keg. The way they put people in a keg. Why? What is this? Where the Arab countries of Africa put people in kegs. Bashir might have had his mistakes, but he doesn't deserve to be in a keg. Treat him in a manner so that he knows he used to treat people badly. But if you treat him the way you are treating him, you are going to make him have a problem, and maybe somebody also will be angered and come and rescue him. Thank you very much. South Sudan has discovered a new oil well of 37 million barrels in Ada area of northern part of Nile State that contained 5.3 million barrels of recoverable crude oil. Hey, this is very good. But the discovery by DA Petroleum Operating Company is a significant step towards the oil. Turning to the issue of environment pollution, the country is planning to carry out an environmental audit to determine the amount of damage oil-producing areas across the country are causing. That is very good news for Sudan, and that is what we want to say. Thank you very much for watching and listening to African News. We now turn to our topical discussion this morning. And our discussion this morning, before I go there, I think I have quite a lot of some other African news. IGAD has asked President Bashir to give out funds for the peace deal, especially to the other opposition leaders who were supposed to have these funds. That's very good. Tanzanian journalists arrested and detained for fake news in Tanzania. Several Egyptian rights groups urged a UN agency to rule out Egypt as the host of its conference on torture because the country's records that is happening. Algeria arrested their Minister of Justice and locks him up for corruption. Some African countries don't joke. The capital city of Cameroon, of northwestern region, Bamenda, is under lock, and there are no movement because of the recent arrest and the detention and the life imprisonment of the leaders. Zimbabwe anti-corruption group has been told not to be misuse and its powers to go for everybody to score political miles. It has come and emerged that is the warning from President Mnangagwa that the agency must go slow and use this not as a witch hunt, but to really put the facts on the table. The Zimbabwe, one of the President Mnangagwa's top aides, Petini Gapa, has quit her trade and investment advisory role and vowed not to renew her contract after being frustrated by ZANU-PF leaders' close lieutenants who she accused of pursuing personal wealth accumulation at the expense of genuine reforms to turn around the country's fortunes. Well, we have written about that for a long time. I don't know whether Emerson, my brother, my bigger brother, is seeing that. Japan will in late August, which is next week, Japan will host International Conference on African Development in Yokohama. The conference is the cornerstone. Several African countries will attend. And that is exactly the news from Africa. And Uhuru says building bridges is that one we have discussed. Thank you very much. Let's take another break. Bring something, a clip on Cameroon, on Amazonia, what is happening there. Thank you. I want to call upon the people of Amazonia today, wherever you are in the diaspora, in Amazonia itself, that in a struggle you are bound to have divisions. But divisions should not divert you from the main focus, the main challenge. We have struggled to expose the happenings, the human rights abuses in Amazonia. The army has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands, burnt houses of people, internet was cut off, schools were closed, dispensaries, hospitals were burnt down. Amazonians should not be intimidated by Paul Robia. It is not upon the leaders of Amazonia, because I am not from Amazonia. But I've played a pivotal role in making sure that I loud out the voices, I put out the call, I call upon AU, EU, United Nations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. Many of them have listened to some of the things that I say here, and they have come at last. America, United States of America, is slowly moving towards giving the Amazonian people the dignity they deserve. I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Amazonian people to unite for a purpose. The unity of purpose is paramount, as opposed to disunity, which has nothing but only produces ego that we have seen in South Sudan. What has killed South Sudan is not because they don't have the money, the minerals, the resources. Is ego between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. We would not like to see that ego come to the people of Amazonia, the leadership of Amazonia. I call upon Samuel Sako, Akanga, Milan, and Eko to unite and talk with one voice on international scene that will bring about the peace, the tranquility that you yearn for since 1961, when the Resolution 1608 was abandoned by the United Nations General Assembly and Amazonia was annexed by the Cameroon government by then. I call upon you, my brothers, to pick up the unity call and free your people without disintegration. Thank you. Viewers, those listening to this tape will take a few of the notes and decide on which direction Africa goes. In many parts of Africa, there is always a struggle for power. Struggles for power begin from the struggles for internal democratization of our parties or units where we belong when we come to power. The politics of compensational structure. The politics of deficit, the beginning from a deficit, that I had a deficit. I had a deficit before I was born, or when I was born. I found myself in a poor family. It's the politics of compensation that haunts Africa today. Many people want to take on leadership, but it's the leadership as a basis of where you came from, or the leadership has qualities. For a leader to be a leader, he must have qualities. Identify himself with qualities of good behavior, qualities of no corruption, qualities of no hatred, qualities of engagement, discussion with others, collective responsibility, listening to the people. These are the qualities. A leader who delivers does not need to have a background. A leader who delivers can deliver without a background of the rich or the poor. Many people in Africa seem to be misinterpreting that once you are born, you directed God to produce you in a particular family. None of us would have been where we are had we actually had a message from God where we would be born. I therefore look at this as compensational politics. Meritocracy is the answer. Meritocracy gives you the position that you yearn for. Meritocracy delivers you a position. Meritocracy gives you what you are doing for the people of Kenya or Uganda or whatever country where you are in Africa. But if you don't have these qualities, even if you are born from a family that had the whole world as theirs, then you cannot be a leader. It is therefore very important that the leaders who yearn to become leaders in Africa stop the usage of compensational politics. The politics that you want to compensate on others simply because you were poor, simply because you didn't go to a good school, simply because you don't drink in the same place where they drink, simply because you don't eat in that restaurant, simply because you don't have cars. That politics has got syndromes, traits of people who are either corrupt or have hatred or have a problem on itself. I therefore call upon you people to re-examine as Africans that wherever you come from, the background you come from, you are an African. You can deliver something for your country. You don't need to be able, you don't need to come to compensate for the lost past, because with such attitude, you will grab everything and your country will collapse. Thank you very much for listening. There are certain things happen in the answer.